Jake Morrison walked into the giant meeting hall on the planet Nexus Prime. The building was huge, made of strange blue crystals that seemed to glow from the inside. He had been here many times before, but today felt different. Today felt like an ending. Jake was a captain in the human space fleet. He wore his dark blue uniform with pride, even though he knew the other aliens in the room looked down on humans. They always had. For 3 long years he had watched the Galactic Council treat his people like children who could not be trusted. Admiral Lisa Carter stood beside him. She was the top human diplomat, and she had spent years trying to make peace with the alien races. Her gray hair was pulled back tight and her face looked tired. She had fought so many battles in these halls, trying to protect human rights. The council chamber was full of different alien species. There were tall, thin beings with blue skin and 4 arms. There were creatures that looked like giant insects with silver shells. Some aliens floated in the air without touching the ground. Others had tentacles instead of arms and legs. At the front of the room sat the most important aliens. The Zephyrian Chancellor was there, a being that looked like a walking crystal with many glowing eyes. Next to her was Korth from the Nexari trade group. Korth looked like a huge slug with wet, shiny skin that made gross sounds when he moved. Jake remembered when humans first joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. Earth had been so excited to meet other intelligent life forms. Humans thought they would be welcomed as friends and equals. They were wrong. The Council had rules for everything. They told humans where they could build colonies. They said which planets humans could visit. They even wanted to change human bodies and minds to make them more like the other alien races. But humans refused to change who they were. They kept exploring space and building new homes on distant worlds. They found old alien ruins and studied them. They shared their discoveries with Earth's scientists, not with the Council. The Chancellor's many eyes turned toward the human group. Her voice sounded like glass breaking when she spoke. "The Galactic Council has made its decision," she said. "Humans are too dangerous to live freely in civilized space. You expand too fast. You ask too many questions. You will not let us improve. Your primitive bodies and minds." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. Primitive. They always use that word when talking about humans. The aliens thought their old ways were better just because they had been in space longer. From this day forward, the Chancellor continued, "Humanity is a restricted species. All human colonies outside your home system must be abandoned. All humans must return to Earth. You will not be allowed to leave your system without Council permission." The chamber filled with happy sounds from the alien delegates. Some clapped with multiple hands. Others made clicking noises with their mouths. They were celebrating humanity's punishment. Admiral Carter stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the anger underneath. "This decision is unfair," she said. "We have followed most Council laws. We have shared our technology and knowledge. We have helped solve problems throughout the galaxy. And this is how you repay us?" The Chancellor's eyes grew brighter. "You helped only because you wanted something in return. Humans are selfish creatures. You think only of yourselves." Jake almost laughed at that. Humans had spent decades fixing problems the Council could not solve. When the Altarian food crisis happened, human scientists created new farming methods that saved millions of lives. When the Deloran energy crisis threatened 3-star systems, human engineers built power plants that still work today. But the aliens did not want to remember those things. They only remembered that humans were different. Dr. Helen Park stepped up beside Admiral Carter. She was Earth's smartest scientist, and she carried a small computer tablet in her hands. Helen had helped design many of the systems that kept Council space running smoothly. "You make a mistake," Helen said quietly. "Humanity has done more for this Council than you realize." Korth made his wet laughing sound. "Without the Council's protection, human colonies will fail in months. Your people will come crawling back, begging us to take them back." Admiral Carter looked around the chamber one last time. She saw the smug faces of aliens who thought they had won a great victory. She saw species that had used human ideas and human work for decades, then threw humanity away like garbage. "No," Admiral Carter said. Her voice carried across the huge chamber. We will not crawl back, we will not beg. If humanity is too primitive for your great civilization, then we choose to leave. The chamber became very quiet. In 50,000 years, no species had ever quit the council voluntarily. The aliens did not know what to do. We formally withdraw. From the Galactic Council, Admiral Carter continued. Starting right now, humanity will have nothing more to do with any of you. Jake felt proud of his admiral. Finally, someone had told these arrogant aliens what he had wanted to say for years. Helen held up her tablet. As of today, humanity stops all cooperation with Council projects. All human-built systems in Council space will be shut down. All human research and technology sharing ends immediately. The aliens still did not understand what this meant. They thought humans were just angry and would change their minds later. They had no idea that human engineers had been building and maintaining systems throughout their space for decades. The Chancellor waved one of her crystal arms dismissively. Go then. Leave like the primitive creatures you are. We do not need you. Jake smiled for the first time in months. We will see about that, he said quietly. As the human delegation walked out of the chamber, Jake felt lighter than he had in years. They were finally free of these arrogant aliens who never respected them anyway. The galaxy was about to learn just how much they really needed humanity. Ben Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the huge ship called New Frontier. Through the main window, he could see hundreds of other human ships flying in formation. They looked like a river of lights moving through the darkness of space. 6 months had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. Everyone thought humans would come crawling back within weeks, begging for forgiveness. They were wrong. Ben was proud of his people. Instead of panicking, humans had worked together like never before. Every human ship, space station, and colony had received the same message: pack up and leave Council space. Come home to human territory. Captain, said Amy Hughes from her communication station, we just got the final report. The last human research station has left Andorian space. All our people are safe. Ben nodded. Amy was young but smart. She had been working day and night to coordinate the biggest moving operation in human history. Over 2 million humans had been living and working throughout Council space. Getting them all out safely had been a massive job. Good work, Amy. Now send the signal to all ships. Tell them it is time for Protocol 7. Amy's fingers moved over her control panel. Within seconds, every human ship in the fleet received the same coded message. It was time for the next phase of their plan. Dr. Nathan Cross sat in the engineering section of New Frontier, watching his computer screens carefully. Nathan was the human who had designed the hyperspace highway system that connected most of Council space. The aliens traveled between star systems using roads through space that Nathan had helped build. But Nathan had been smart when he built those roads. He had put in secret controls that only humans knew about. If humans ever needed to shut down the system, they could do it remotely. All systems ready, Captain, Nathan reported over the ship's communication system. Beginning shutdown sequence in 3 minutes. On his screens, Nathan could see the status of thousands of different systems throughout the galaxy. Power plants, communication networks, navigation computers, life support systems. Most aliens did not know it, but human technology was running in the background of almost every important system in Council space. For 200 years, humans had been solving problems that the older alien races could not figure out. When the Zephyrians could not make their mining equipment work in high gravity, humans designed better machines. When the Nexari could not keep their cargo ships from getting lost in hyperspace, humans built better navigation systems. The aliens had always called human technology primitive and crude, but they had quietly been using it everywhere because it worked better than their old systems. Nathan began typing commands into his computer. Across the galaxy, automated systems started receiving shutdown orders. The programs were designed to turn off slowly and safely so they would not cause immediate disasters. But once they were off, the aliens would not be able to turn them back on without human help. Rick Thompson was overseeing the evacuation of the last human research facility in Council space. The Titan research station had been studying alien technology for 30 years. Rick was making sure that all the important research data was safely transferred to human ships before they left. "Sir," said one of his technicians, "the aliens are asking why we are taking all our research with us. They say some of it belongs to the Council because we discovered it in Council space." Rick almost laughed. The aliens had spent decades telling humans that their research was not important. Now suddenly they wanted to keep it. "Tell them this is all human work," Rick said. "We built these laboratories. We did the experiments. We made the discoveries. If they want to do their own research, they can build their own facilities." Rick knew that would be harder than the aliens thought. Human research stations were not just buildings with equipment inside. They used advanced life support systems, power generators, and computer networks that humans had designed specifically for research work. The aliens had similar equipment, but it was older and less efficient. As Rick watched the last containers of research data being loaded onto transport ships, he thought about all the discoveries humans had made in Council space. New types of metal that were stronger than anything found on Earth, energy sources that could power entire cities, medical treatments that could cure diseases that had killed millions of people. All of that knowledge was now leaving with the humans. The aliens would have to start over from the beginning if they wanted to continue the research. Commander Carol Stevens was in charge of shutting down the industrial systems that humans had built throughout Council space. These were the factories, power plants, and manufacturing centers that produced goods for dozens of alien civilizations. "Status report," Carol asked her team of engineers. "DeLorean system shutdown is complete," reported one engineer. "Their fusion reactors are now running on backup systems only." "Zephyrian mining operations have been transferred to local control," said another. "But their equipment will start breaking down within weeks without human maintenance protocols." "Altarian communication network is switching to emergency mode," reported a third engineer. "They will lose long-range communications between star systems within days." Carol felt a bit sorry for the aliens who would be affected by these shutdowns. Many of them were just ordinary people trying to live their lives. They had nothing to do with the Council's decision to kick humanity out. But Carol also felt proud of what humans had accomplished. In just 2 centuries, humans had become so important to galactic civilization that removing them would cause major problems everywhere. The aliens had made their choice. They wanted humanity to leave, so humanity would leave completely. President Laura Mitchell sat in her command center aboard the orbital platform that served as Earth's mobile government headquarters. The entire platform had been moved outside the solar system to a safe location where the Council could not threaten Earth directly. Laura was reading reports from all over the galaxy about the effects of the human withdrawal. The news was getting worse every day. "Madam President," said Intelligence Chief Danny Walsh, "we are intercepting more emergency communications from Council worlds. The Nexari Trade Collective has lost more than half their shipping fleet. Their cargo ships keep getting lost without human navigation systems to guide them. The Zephyrian Republic is reporting complete failure of their atmospheric processors on 17 different mining worlds," added Communications Director Jim Parker. "Without human maintenance, their equipment cannot handle the toxic environments." Laura closed her eyes and rubbed her temples. She had not wanted to cause suffering for billions of innocent aliens. But the Council had forced this situation by treating humans like dangerous children who could not be trusted. "Any word from the Council leadership?" Laura asked. "Chancellor Vex High has sent 12 different messages requesting immediate talks," Danny reported. "But she still insists that humans must accept restricted status if we want to return." Laura shook her head. The aliens still did not understand. Humanity was not going to return to the old system where they were treated as second-class citizens. "Send a message to all human ships," Laura ordered. "Tell them to continue with the evacuation plan. We are not going back." As Ben Rodriguez guided the new frontier toward the edge of Council space, he looked back one last time at the galaxy humans were leaving behind. Somewhere in that vast collection of stars were billions of aliens who had depended on human technology without even realizing. Soon they would understand just how much they had taken humans for granted. The exodus was almost complete. Now the real test would begin. The first disaster happened in the DeLorean system 3 months after humans left Council space. Laura Mitchell read the report while sitting in her command center far beyond Earth's old location. The news was worse than even she had expected. The fusion reactors that powered DeLorean 3 have exploded, reported Intelligence Chief Danny Walsh. His voice was quiet and serious. The entire planet's industrial sector is gone. Radiation levels are so high that millions of aliens had to evacuate to other worlds. Laura felt sick to her stomach. She had not wanted innocent people to get hurt. But the DeLorean reactors had been built using human safety systems. When humans left, they took their knowledge with them. The aliens tried to run the reactors by themselves, but they did not understand how the safety systems worked. "How many casualties?" Laura asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. "Current estimates are around 50,000 dead and 3 million homeless." Danny replied. "The DeLorean government is calling it the worst industrial accident in their history." Dr. Kevin Barnes looked up from his monitoring station. Kevin was in charge of listening to communications from all over the galaxy. What he was hearing made him more worried each day. "Madam President, the DeLorean disaster is just the beginning," Kevin said. "I am picking up distress calls from dozens of star systems. The Altarian Republic has lost communication with half their colonies. The Nexari trade routes are in complete chaos. Ships are disappearing in hyperspace because they cannot navigate without human guidance systems." Carol Stevens was reading technical reports at her engineering station. She had been one of the humans who designed the systems now failing throughout Council space. She knew exactly what was going wrong and why. "The atmospheric processors on Zephyrian mining worlds are shutting down one by one," Carol reported. "Those worlds have poisonous air that can kill most aliens in minutes. The processors were keeping the air safe to breathe. Now the miners are trapped underground and rescue ships cannot land because the surface air is too dangerous." Laura walked to the main viewing window and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of aliens were suffering because their leaders had been too proud to treat humans with respect. The Council had kicked humanity out, thinking they could manage just fine without human help. They had been terribly wrong. "What about the food crisis?" Laura asked. Danny checked his reports. "Getting worse every day. 17 agricultural worlds are reporting complete crop failures. It turns out their farming systems were all running on human-designed irrigation and soil management programs. Without those programs, the crops are dying." The irony was painful. For decades, the aliens had criticized human farming methods as crude and inefficient. Meanwhile, they had quietly been using human agricultural technology to feed their populations because it worked better than their traditional methods. Now, those same critics were watching their people go hungry. Jim Parker was monitoring emergency communications from across the galaxy. His job was to track how the crisis was spreading. The news got worse every hour. "Sir, I am receiving reports of government collapses in 3 different systems," Jim announced. "The Altarian Republic cannot coordinate between their colony worlds anymore. Their quantum communication network was enhanced with human signal boosters, and it is failing node by node. Without communication, they cannot govern effectively," Carol added. "Their parliament has not been able to meet because representatives from outer colonies cannot participate in discussions." Laura had seen this kind of cascade failure before in smaller systems. When communication breaks down, governments start to fall apart. People panic when they cannot get news from their leaders. Trade stops working when merchants cannot coordinate with each other. Dr. Helen Parks joined the group from her research station. Helen was the scientist who had warned the Council about the consequences of humanity's withdrawal. The aliens had not listened to her then. They were learning to listen now. "I have been analyzing the failure patterns," Helen said. "The problems are spreading faster than I predicted. Human technology was so deeply integrated into Council systems that removing it is like trying to remove someone's heart while keeping them alive." "How long do we have before complete collapse?" Laura asked. Helen looked at her data tablets. "At the current rate of failure, major Council civilizations will lose the ability to maintain basic infrastructure within 6 to 8 months. After that, we are looking at the possible collapse of galactic civilization itself." The room fell silent. Even though humans had left the Council voluntarily, nobody wanted to be responsible for destroying 50,000 years of galactic culture and progress. Amy Hughes was monitoring council emergency channels when she heard something that made her gasp. "President Mitchell, you need to hear this," Amy said. She played an audio recording over the command center speakers. The voice belonged to Chancellor HFY, the Zephyrian leader who had been so arrogant when she kicked humanity out of the council. Now she sounded desperate and frightened. Emergency. Council session called for immediate discussion of the human crisis, the Chancellor's voice said. All member species are ordered to send representatives immediately. We must find a solution before our civilization collapses completely. She sounds scared, Danny observed. She should be, Carol replied grimly. The Zephyrians have lost their entire mining industry. Without those mines, they cannot produce the rare metals that their technology depends on. Their spaceships are literally falling apart because they cannot get replacement parts. More reports kept coming in. The Nexari Trade Collective, which had been one of the richest organizations in the galaxy, was nearly bankrupt. Their cargo ships were getting lost in hyperspace at such a high rate that most shipping companies had stopped operating. The Korthani Empire, whose representative had laughed at humanity's departure, was facing revolution on 12 different worlds. Their citizens were angry because basic services like power, water, and air recycling were failing due to the breakdown of human-maintained systems. Ben Rodriguez sent a message from the human fleet, which was now safely beyond Council space. His ships were monitoring the situation but staying at a safe distance. We are receiving hundreds of messages from individual alien governments, Ben reported. They are begging for humanitarian aid. Some are offering incredible deals if we will just help them fix their critical systems. Laura felt the weight of difficult decisions. Every day that humans stayed away, more aliens suffered. But returning to the old system where humans were treated as inferior beings would solve nothing in the long term. What kind of deals are they offering? Laura asked. The Altarian Republic is offering complete territorial autonomy for human colonies, Ben replied. The Nexari are promising exclusive trading rights throughout their space. Some individual worlds are offering to switch sides and join a human alliance instead of staying with the Council. Rick Thompson was analyzing the technical aspects of the crisis. As an engineer, he understood exactly why things were failing so catastrophically. The problem is that human technology was designed to work together as an integrated system, Rick explained. When the aliens adopted our solutions, they did not realize how many different systems were connected. Removing humans did not just eliminate individual technologies, it broke the connections between all their systems. Like pulling out the nervous system of a living creature, Helen added. Each individual organ might still work for a while, but without the nervous system to coordinate them, the whole body starts to die. Laura made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Prepare a message for transmission to Council Space, she ordered. We will provide emergency humanitarian aid to prevent mass casualties. But we will not return to the old system. If the Council wants long-term human cooperation, the entire structure of galactic government must change. What are our terms? Danny asked. Complete equality, Laura replied firmly. No more restricted species. No more second-class citizenship. If they want our help rebuilding their civilization, they will have to treat us as equal partners. The message went out across the galaxy within hours. The response from Council Space came even faster. Please state your specific terms for negotiation. For the first time in months, Laura smiled. The galaxy was finally ready to listen to humanity as equals. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was unlike anything that had happened in 50,000 years. Chancellor HFY looked terrible. Her crystal skin, which used to glow with bright colors, now looked dull and cracked. Many other alien representatives appeared through emergency communication systems because normal council networks were no longer working properly. The situation is worse than we first thought, Chancellor HFY announced to the desperate assembly. Human withdrawal has caused system failures in over 3,000 star systems. Our best scientists estimate complete infrastructure collapse within 6 months if we cannot reverse this crisis. Sarah Bennett sat in her monitoring station aboard the human fleet's command ship, listening to the council session through intercepted communications. Sarah was in charge of intelligence gathering, and what she was hearing would have been unbelievable just 1 year ago. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled space for 50 millennia, was begging for help from the same humans they had, called primitive and worthless. Korth, the slug-like Nixari representative who had laughed when humans left, now sounded panicked. His usual arrogance was completely gone. "Our commercial shipping has collapsed by 80%, Korth reported, his voice making wet, frightened sounds. "Ships keep getting lost in hyperspace without human navigation protocols. We have lost contact with entire trade convoys. Our economy is in complete ruin." The Altarian representative was even more desperate. "Our government is falling apart," she said through a crackling communication link. "We cannot maintain contact between our colony worlds. Without communication, we cannot coordinate food distribution, medical supplies, or emergency services. People are dying." Jim Parker, working beside Sarah, was recording and analyzing every word of the council session. Jim had spent years studying alien politics, but he had never seen anything like this level of panic from galactic leaders. "Listen to this," Jim said, playing back a message from the Zephyrian mining colonies. "They are reporting complete atmospheric system failures on 47 mining worlds. Thousands of workers are trapped underground because the surface air has become too poisonous to breathe." Sarah felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. The aliens had brought this crisis on themselves by treating humans badly. But innocent people were suffering for the mistakes of their leaders. "Any word from our negotiation team?" Sarah asked. President Laura Mitchell was leading the human negotiation effort from her command center. She had been receiving desperate messages from alien governments all day, each one offering more than the last in exchange for human help. "The offers keep getting more extreme," reported Communications Director Amy Hughes. "The DeLorean survivors are offering to become a human protectorate if we will help them rebuild. 3 different alien species have volunteered to share their most secret technologies with us." Dr. Nathan Cross was analyzing the technical aspects of what it would take to restore council systems. Nathan understood better than anyone how deeply human technology had become embedded in alien infrastructure. "The repair work would take years," Nathan explained. "We would need to rebuild entire networks from scratch. Many alien systems cannot be simply restarted. They need to be completely redesigned with human engineers working alongside alien technicians." "How many humans would we need to send back into council space?" Laura asked. "At least 50,000 engineers and technicians," Nathan replied. "And they would need to work directly with alien governments, not as visitors or contractors. They would need full authority to make changes to critical systems." Laura understood what Nathan was really saying. To fix the crisis, humans would need to be treated as equals and partners, not as helpers or servants. The old system where aliens made decisions and humans followed orders would not work for this kind of cooperation. Carol Stevens had been studying the political situation throughout council space. The crisis was causing more than just technical problems. Entire governments were collapsing as their citizens lost confidence in leaders who could not provide basic services. "Revolution has broken out in the Korthani Empire," Carol reported. "Their citizens are angry that their government kicked out the humans who were keeping their infrastructure running. Similar unrest is spreading to other council worlds. Some alien populations are demanding that their governments withdraw from the council entirely and seek separate agreements with humanity," added Danny Walsh from his intelligence station. Laura realized that the crisis had given humanity incredible leverage in negotiations, but she also knew that with great power came great responsibility. How they handled this situation would determine the future of galactic civilization for centuries to come. "Prepare our response to the council," Laura ordered. "We will help them, but only under a completely new system of government that treats all species as equals." The terms that humanity sent to the council were revolutionary. Instead of the old hierarchical system where ancient alien races ruled over younger species, humans proposed a cooperative structure where every species had equal representation and voting rights. The new system would be called the Galactic Cooperative. Decisions would be made by consensus rather than by the dictates of powerful species. Technology and knowledge would be shared freely instead of being hoarded by the oldest civilizations. Most importantly, No single species would be allowed to become indispensable to galactic infrastructure. All critical systems would be designed and maintained by mixed teams of different species, so that the withdrawal of any one group could never again threaten civilization itself. Chancellor Vexhai received the human proposal while her own world was experiencing rolling blackouts due to power system failures. She read the terms with her council of advisors, most of whom were too desperate to object to anything humans demanded. These terms essentially mean the end of the traditional council system, observed her chief advisor. We would be giving up 50,000 years of established government structure. What choice do we have? Chancellor Vexhai replied bitterly. Our civilization is collapsing. In 3 months, we may not have any government left to preserve. The Nexari leadership held similar discussions aboard their mobile trading platforms. Korth and his fellow merchants faced bankruptcy if they could not restore their shipping networks. The human terms were harsh, but bankruptcy would be worse. At least under the human proposal, we would still exist as a species, Korth concluded. If we refuse their terms, our entire trading culture may disappear within a year. One by one, the major council species accepted the human terms. Some did so enthusiastically, hoping that cooperation would bring new opportunities. Others agreed reluctantly, seeing no other choice but extinction. The first test of the new system came when humans began sending emergency repair teams to the most critically damaged systems. Human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to restore power plants, communication networks, and life support systems. Ben Rodriguez commanded one of the first human relief missions to the Deloran system. His engineers worked around the clock with Deloran survivors to build temporary housing and restore basic services for the millions of refugees displaced by the reactor explosions. It is amazing how much we can accomplish when we work together, as equals, reported Chief Engineer Rick Thompson from the Deloran relief site. The Deloran engineers have knowledge about radiation cleanup that our people never learned. Combined with our expertise in rapid construction techniques, we are rebuilding faster than either species could manage alone. Similar cooperation was happening throughout the crisis zones. Human agricultural specialists worked with alien farmers to restore food production. Human navigation experts trained alien pilots to use the new hyperspace route systems. Human communication engineers helped alien governments re-establish contact with their scattered colonies. But the most important change was in attitudes. For the first time in galactic history, different species were working together as true partners, rather than in master-servant relationships. Dr. Helen Parks, now serving as humanity's chief science coordinator, sent regular reports back to President Mitchell about the progress of the reconstruction efforts. The results are remarkable, Helen reported. Mixed human-alien teams are solving problems faster and more creatively than either species could manage separately. It appears that diversity really is more effective than hierarchy when it comes to complex challenges. After 6 months of emergency cooperation, the Council formally voted to dissolve itself and establish the new Galactic Cooperative. The vote was unanimous, though some species clearly agreed more enthusiastically than others. Chancellor Vexhai, now serving as the cooperative's first rotating chairperson, made an announcement that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. Today marks the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization, she said. We have learned that cooperation produces better results than domination. We have discovered that diversity creates strength rather than weakness. And we have realized that no species is too primitive to contribute valuable ideas to our shared future. Sarah Bennett smiled as she listened to the Chancellor's speech. The same alien leader who had called humans primitive was now praising human contributions to galactic society. Jake Morrison stood in the same crystal chamber where humanity's troubles with the Galactic Council had begun 1 year earlier. But everything was different now. Instead of sitting in judgment over humans, the alien representatives sat at a round table where every species had an equal voice. The old council chamber had been completely redesigned. The high platform where the Chancellor used to look down on other species was gone. In its place was a circular meeting area where all representatives sat at the same level. The walls now displayed the symbols of every member species, including the simple Earth logo that had been banned under the old system. Jake was now Admiral Morrison, promoted after his role in the successful negotiations with the Council species. He represented humanity on the governing council of the new Galactic Cooperative, and he still could hardly believe how much had changed. The restoration project has succeeded beyond our wildest hopes, announced Director Claire Johnson, humanity's chief liaison to the cooperative. Claire had been working 18-hour days for months, coordinating the massive effort to rebuild galactic infrastructure. We have successfully restored critical systems in 96% of the affected star systems, Claire continued. But, more importantly, the new systems are designed so that no single species can ever again become indispensable to galactic civilization. President Laura Mitchell, now representing humanity in the Cooperative's Leadership Council, nodded with deep satisfaction. The new government structure had been humanity's idea, but it was working better than even she had hoped. The changes were remarkable. Instead of the old system where ancient alien races made all the decisions, every species now had representatives who could propose ideas and vote on important matters. Decisions were made by discussion and compromise rather than by the commands of powerful rulers. The Human-Zephyrian Joint Research Project has produced breakthrough discoveries in quantum computing, reported the Zephyrian representative, who had once considered humans too primitive to work with. Our combined research teams have achieved more progress in 6 months than either species accomplished in the previous 10 years of separate work. Admiral Ben Rodriguez was commanding the new Joint Exploration Fleet, a collection of ships from 12 different species working together to explore unknown regions of space. His reports were coming in from the edge of the galaxy, where mixed crews of humans and aliens were making incredible discoveries. We have found 7 new star systems, with planets suitable for colonization, Ben reported through the communication system. Using combined human adaptability techniques and Altarian sensor technology, we are able to survey new worlds faster and more thoroughly than ever before. The exploration program was one of the most successful parts of the new cooperative. Instead of different species competing for the same resources, they now work together to find new homes for everyone. Human ships carried alien colonists to new worlds, while alien vessels helped transport human settlers to distant systems. Carol Stevens, now serving as the cooperative's chief engineer, had spent the year redesigning galactic infrastructure to prevent future crises. Her teams included engineers from every member species, each contributing their unique knowledge and skills. Galactic productivity has increased by over 300% under the new system, Carol announced to the assembly. It turns out that cooperation really is more efficient than competition when it comes to large-scale projects. The numbers were impressive. Trade between star systems had reached levels never seen before because the new government eliminated many of the restrictions and taxes that had slowed commerce under the old council. Scientific research was advancing at incredible speed because knowledge was now shared freely instead of being hoarded by individual species. Dr. Nathan Cross, whose engineering expertise had become legendary throughout the galaxy, was leading the technical committee that designed standards for all new infrastructure projects. We have established protocols that require every critical system to be maintained by mixed teams from at least 3 different species, Nathan explained. This ensures that no single species can ever again threaten galactic stability by withdrawing their support. The safety measures had been tested when the Rigelians, a species that had initially refused to join the cooperative, tried to establish their own independent alliance. They quickly discovered that their technology was so integrated with cooperative systems that independence was impossible without causing massive problems for their own people. The Rigelians had rejoined the cooperative within months, accepting the same equal terms as everyone else. Amy Hughes was monitoring communication traffic throughout cooperative space from her position aboard the mobile capital station. Amy had been promoted to Chief Communications Officer, and her job was to make sure that all member species could communicate effectively with each other. We are processing communication traffic at levels 4 times higher than under the old council system, Amy reported. The free exchange of information between species is creating innovation at a rate we have never seen before. The improvement in communication had unexpected benefits. Artists from different species were collaborating to create new forms of music and visual art that combined the best of multiple cultures. Scientists were solving problems by combining knowledge from completely different fields of study. Even more importantly, ordinary citizens from different species were becoming friends through cultural exchange programs that had been impossible under the restrictive old system. Dr. Helen Parks, now serving as the cooperative's Director of Scientific Research, presented her annual report on the state of galactic civilization. Every measure of social, economic, and technological progress has improved dramatically since the formation of the cooperative, Helen announced. Life expectancy is up. Economic prosperity is spread more evenly among all species. Scientific knowledge is advancing faster than ever before. But the most important change is in attitudes, Helen continued. For the first time in galactic history, different species see each other as partners rather than competitors or threats. This psychological change may be more significant than all the technological improvements combined. Jake Morrison found that hard to argue with. He remembered the fear and resentment he had felt toward aliens during the final days of the old council. Now he worked closely with beings from a dozen different species, and many of them had become genuine friends. The transformation had not been easy for everyone. Some aliens from the oldest species had difficulty adjusting to a system where their ancient status meant nothing. Some humans had to learn to work as part of a team instead of trying to prove their superiority. But most beings throughout the galaxy had embraced the new system enthusiastically. For younger species that had been oppressed under the old council, the cooperative offered opportunities they had never imagined. For older species, cooperation provided access to new ideas and technologies that revitalized their stagnant civilizations. President Mitchell concluded the annual assembly with a speech that summarized humanity's remarkable journey. 1 year ago, we left the Galactic Council because we were tired of being treated as inferior beings, she said. We thought we were simply seeking independence and respect. We had no idea that our departure would lead to the creation of an entirely new form of galactic government. The universe did not crumble when humanity departed from the old system, Mitchell continued. Instead, it was rebuilt into something stronger, more fair, and more prosperous than anyone thought possible. We have learned that diversity is not a weakness to be overcome, but a strength to be celebrated. We have discovered that cooperation produces better results than competition. And we have proven that when different species work together as equals, they can accomplish things that none of them could achieve alone. As the assembly concluded and representatives from dozens of species mingled freely in the chamber, Jake Morrison reflected on the incredible changes of the past year. Humanity had set out to find independence and had ended up helping to create the most successful government in galactic history. The old council chambers had been converted into a museum that reminded future generations about the dangers of inequality and oppression. School children from every species in the cooperative visited the museum to learn about the importance of treating all beings with respect and dignity. 5 years later, the Galactic Cooperative had expanded to include 23 different species and had established research stations in 4 different galaxies. The mobile capital station, now called Unity, traveled throughout cooperative space so that all member worlds could host the government. Admiral Lisa Carter, now commanding the Joint Exploration Fleet's flagship, stood on the bridge watching human and alien children playing together on the station's observation decks. Through the main window, she could see ships from a dozen different species working together on construction projects that would benefit everyone. The old dream of galactic unity had finally become reality, but not in the way anyone had expected. Instead of unity through domination, they had achieved it through cooperation. Instead of peace through submission, they had found it through equality. The universe was not just stronger than before,